So rather than sort of go through the nitty-gritty of what you need to be eligible, I thought I'd talk a little bit about what makes a good application. And the easiest way to do that is to really look at how points are awarded throughout through the different applications. So starting off with the single project scheme then, and there's a couple of different images running through this presentation too, so you can see the kind of companies and projects that are getting funded through this, through these different programs. With the single project scheme, the single project has grants, non-repayable grants of €60,000 for animation. And it's all about helping you to put together that really attractive package that you could then take to look for further investment for the project. It can fund theatrical cinema projects or TV series or one-offs. And the way that points are awarded, you can see that the biggest weighting is really on the quality of the project. So it's about the characters, the story, how you get that across in the application comes down to the artistic material that you provide ultimately. So although it is money to develop, really you've got to come with quite a strong project already in order to be in with a chance of accessing this funding. Tied into that is the potential for European distribution. So we want projects that are going to stand out on the international market, that have that international appeal. We're looking for projects that have the ability to travel, not just within Europe, but sort of internationally too, and reach international audiences. So it's really important to get that across in your application as well. Within the application form itself, you write a number of different strategies, and you can see these are weighted depending on what we're looking for. So the development strategy is basically how you're going to spend the money and when you're going to spend it. But then it's more than that too, because really your project's not perfect. We know that. That's why you're applying for development money. We want to know what those creative choices are you're going to take to get the project to the next level. So, how are you going to develop the project further, be it through multiple versions of the script, or something's not quite right with the story outlines and you want to explore something there. All of that needs to be explicitly stated in your application form. And by identifying those weaknesses within your project, that's how you score the points. The third one is the European and International Distribution and Marketing Strategy. Again, this is a strategy you write within the e-form. And it's just about you identifying how, which broadcasters you want to approach, which distributors you want to approach, other potential partners that you want to use to help get your project out there. All the better if you've already made those initial connections and conversations are ongoing. Even better if you've got past experience of working with particular international companies. And also identifying who your audience is and how you're going to reach them. So that's really key through the marketing strategy. Just kind of drilling down to who exactly the project's for, and thinking internationally in that sense too. The team and the organisation of the team is important, particularly how roles are divided within the team, and the experience of the team too, to a certain extent. And then the quality of the financing strategy and the feasibility of the project. So feasibility of the project is what is the likelihood it's going to get made. And the financing strategy, again, stronger applications tend to have a more internationally focused financing plan. Again, we're at the development stage. No one's going to hold you to any of these strategies. If things change, other deals may come about, but you're setting out a plan for how you will raise finance for the whole production overall. There are also some automatic points that come with the single project application. Unfortunately, as a UK company, you wouldn't be eligible for any of the points available for low or medium production capacity countries. We're deemed as a high production capacity country, along with France, Germany, Italy, and Spain. And a change to this year's rules are the automatic points targeted at young audiences. There used to be 10 points targeted for those projects, and animation was included. Just to let you know that now there's been a change of the rules. It's just basically about lowering the threshold for points. With the 10 points with animation, lots of animations were going through, and it raised the bar to near impossible. I think you needed about 100 points out of 125 in order to go through with an animation last year. So the idea of changing this slightly this time around is to bring that threshold down and hopefully make it a bit more accessible. A couple of statistics just to give you an idea of the scale of the number of applications we received for this scheme. Yeah, basically you can see 22 out of the 126 animation projects were selected. That's about 17% selection rate, which is higher than the 11% overall selection rate if you take into fact the documentary projects and the fiction projects too. 85% of those selected projects overall, so all categories, were co-productions. And that's really important. I think Yolanda mentioned it in the panel earlier on, but that co-production or potential for co-production gives you access to another market. So we like to see that within the applications. We like to see you working across borders, thinking internationally about your financing. As I said, we'll all score you points. And then just to give you an idea of how that compares, so the table on the right is the co-productions that were submitted, and it's broken down by animation, documentary, and fiction. So you can see the orange bars were the submitted applications that didn't have a co-production. So the reason why fiction is maybe on that earlier chart getting a lot of the money is because they're applying with more co-productions. Something to think about. It's not launched yet, but I just want to run through the Slate development scheme and give you a little bit of insight into how it differs from single project. So Slate is it's more of a company development grant rather than focusing on the project itself. You would apply for between 3 and 5 projects, and it's not in your packs, but we can provide, once the call's published, details of the eligibility criteria. It is a little bit more stringent for Slate. We are looking for the more established companies, the companies that are already working on an international level, and the companies that have that capacity to be developing multiple projects at the same time as well. So you'll see from the way that the weighting of the points differs from single projects that here, like I said, it's about the company rather than the project. We are looking at the projects on the slate, obviously, but that has an equal weighting to the company. So the development strategy, financing strategy, European dimension, all lumped into those 20 points. Distribution marketing strategy, it's the same things that apply really, but for Slate what I would say is that absolutely we would expect there to be co-productions within your Slate or international financing. You should already know who those international partners are that you want to bring on board and have experience of working with them. The team, like I said, it's important to outline who's going to be doing what on the project, financing and feasibility of the project, whether it's got the potential to go through or not. And then a big difference for Slate is how innovative the company is. And that can be innovation in genre, it can be innovation in working with new talent. You would, again, write a section of the e-form is dedicated to that, so you can really prove that you're working innovatively, adapting to the market, and score those 20 points that are available for that. Automatic points are available for Slate projects too. They're the same as the single project, except there's no automatic points awarded for projects with young audiences this time. With this information on the slate, it could all be subject to change, just to let you know. As soon as we have the call published, we'll be able to let you know more. Just an overview then in terms of tips for your development application. If you are thinking of applying, be specific as you can about your project. The more detail you can get in there, the better. Be factual and coherent. You want to sort of demonstrate that you know what you're talking about and can bring this project to fruition. Substantiate and justify all your choices. If you want to attend Cartoon Forum, what are you going to get out of that? Who do you plan to meet and see, and what, for every stage of the development process, what is it that you want to achieve? The detailed plan of action is good, but there's always a plan B if things fall through, and it's important to put that in your application too. I talked about thinking about potential partners. Always good to shout about your past, particularly international experiences. The creative is really important. Like I said, that's your main way, particularly for single projects, of getting the maximum of those 50 points that are available. So it's really about getting all of that information across in the application itself. That is your pitch. I've also said this: address and explain your weaknesses. Really important to do that. Who, what, when, and why. What, how is the project going to come together in terms of the people that are working on it? And yeah, every scheme has a detailed description of those award criteria in the guidelines. So they break down those headline titles that I've just given you and go into more detail as to exactly how points are awarded within that 50 points, within that 20 points. So always worthwhile to kind of cross-reference your application with that. I've got some slate statistics just to give you an idea here. The one on the left, this is looking at the type of slate, so whether it's an animation, fiction, or documentary slate only, or if it's mixed. And you can see that the majority of projects that get selected on the right are the green ones. They're the mixed slates. And I think that has a lot to do with, the company being innovative in its activities, so not just sticking to what it knows, trying new things seems to score the points. Again, selected slates by platform, so we can fund cinema, TV, and digital platform projects. You can see on again, it's all about having that diversity. So nearly half of the projects that were selected last year, in 2014, the most recent stats we have, are mixed slates. So it's a mix of cinema, TV, no digital platform projects, I think, but maybe one or two in the mixed slates. TV programming then is it's sub-production funding, if you like, for TV programs. So you would apply to us when you've got a number of broadcasters already attached to your project, and you would need at least 50% of your financing already in place. So when you're at that stage, you could come and apply for the TV programming funding. The way that points are awarded in this scheme, it is about those broadcasters. You can see from the two sort of categories there, if you come with the minimum 3 broadcasters, the maximum score you're going to get is 10 points. But if you can get 4 or more from different countries, there's the potential for your points to grow there. Again, it's about the European dimension of the project, the financing, and distribution marketing strategy, all important. We're looking for those projects, like I say, that can travel outside of the UK and reach wider audiences that way. Automatic points also do apply for TV programming. UK ruled out with the first one, but in TV programming, animation projects do count for the young audience points. So there are 5 points available there if your project is targeted at under 16s. A couple of tips for your TV programming application. A lot of it comes down to those broadcast letters. So you've got to make sure the right information is on the letters when you're doing the deals with the broadcasters. And again, take a look at the guidelines. We can help with the application process. We'll be running some application workshops in the lead up to some of these deadlines, where we'll take you through each question and show how it relates to the award criteria that gets published in the guidelines. And we can send more details of those on soon. A few stats in terms of TV programming. You can see so this is last year, the difference in deadlines is quite remarkable. I mean, double the amount of projects are submitted to the second deadline. I think that's mostly to do with drama projects that apply and a lot of projects going into production in the summer. The second deadline is usually around May. And then you can see on the left the split of successful projects in 2015 between animation, documentary and fiction. So you've got 10 animation projects that were selected. That's actually like a 43% selection rate. We don't see that large numbers of animation projects submitted in this scheme. I think this is quite interesting because it shows you how important those broadcasters are and how it's important not to just apply with the minimum 3. On the left-hand side, you can see that 60% of the selection rate was 60% when the applicants had 9 to 12 broadcasters. So if you've got your minimum 3, you're only really at a selection rate of 12.9% there, whereas obviously the more you have, it does increase the points that you can score on the application. And it's not just numbers, we're also looking at the geographic and linguistic diversity of those broadcasters, we're looking at how suitable they are for your project, we're looking at their financial contribution and what their, how much they make sense for the project itself. And again, on the right there, you can see that basically 9 to 12 seems to be the winning number. 5 to 8, 9 to 12 are the projects that, the more broadcasters, the better is the main answer. So I'm going to pass you on now to 3 of our producers that have received this funding. They'll talk a little bit more about that, and invite Agnieszka back up to the stage to moderate the panel. Thank you.